If you're seeking investors for your fledgling business, the Shark Tank is at once the best and potentially worst place to find yourself. Since 2009, the venerable ABC series has connected high-powered investors including Dallas Mavericks owner Mark Cuban, super investor Kevin O'Leary, and QVC queen Lori Greiner, with hopeful entrepreneurs from all walks of life, all of whom are hoping for an injection of cash and business savvy into their labor of love. But for every enterprise the Sharks have seen fit to put their cash and knowledge behind, there are countless others that have been slapped down, some quite a bit more politely than others. But every once in a while, the Sharks get it wrong, and there are plenty of upstart businesses that have been refused or even declined an offer, but have gone on to success over the long run. Today, we'll take a look at the top 10 Shark Tank pitches that were rejected, but still made big bucks. Dave Alwan's Echo Valley Meats is rather unique in Shark Tank history. Alwan first appeared in the tank in Season 4, pitching his multifaceted purveyor of high-quality meats and its delivery, banquet, and online operations.
Wow.
While the Sharks were all impressed with the quality of the product, they were concerned about stiff competition from companies like Omaha, a very similar endeavor, and also of the opinion that Alwan would be better served focusing solely on the online mail order aspect of his business. Despite the fact that he was seeking only $150,000 for 20% of his company, he left the tank without an offer. But what happened next was the prime example of the Shark Tank effect. His appearance on the show brought national attention to the business, causing his sales to go through the roof. He was also wise enough to take the advice the Sharks had given him and split off his banquet and delivery services for the more profitable mail order business in order to focus on it. In just a year, his online sales grew from $190,000 to over $1.4 million. And 2 years after his first appearance, Alwan returned to the tank in Season 6. This time he had a much better handle on his numbers, and the Sharks were heartened to see that he had followed their advice and that it had paid off. Alwan left the tank for the second time with a $150,000 investment from Mark Cuban in exchange for 25% of the mail order business alone, with an option to purchase 25% of the remaining business interest in the future for an additional $150,000.
Keep my money's worth. Appreciate it. Thanks, David.
Sisters Sue Da-woon and Arum Kong made headlines in 2015 when they walked away from one of the richest offers in Shark Tank history. Their dating app, Coffee Meets Bagel, was pitched as an alternative to conventional apps, focusing on quality over quantity of matches, and marketed toward users who are looking for more than just a one-time fling. The Sharks liked the app's mechanics, the sisters' business plan, and the entire concept, so much so that Mark Cuban made the staggering offer of $30 million to buy the entire company.
If I offered you $30 million for the company, would you take it?
But incredibly, the sisters didn't bite. With Tinder alone valued at $1.5 billion, they saw an opportunity to grow their company beyond what Cuban was offering. And so far, it appears to be paying off. And only 6 months after appearing on the show, they were able to raise nearly $8 million in outside funding and double their app's user base. And by 2017, Arum Kong could only chuckle when asked if they did the right thing in turning down Cuban's offer, saying that the company was worth far more than $30 million at that point, by some estimates as much as $600 million. In 2013, Garrett Gee appeared in the tank to pitch the Sharks on Scan, a versatile QR code scanning mobile app. For Garrett, his appearance wasn't exactly a make-or-break endeavor. He had already raised over $8 million in outside funding before the show's taping. Seeking a cool $1 million for 5% of the company, he put together a solid pitch that showed off his app's cool features.
My app just did a price check showing me how I can save $25.
But they found his valuation to simply be too high, and he left the tank without an offer. However, Garrett's fortunes reversed in dramatic fashion the following year when he sold his app and the underlying technology to Snapchat, which repurposed it for their Snapcode feature. It turned out that Garrett's valuation was more on the money than anyone could have reasonably thought. While he valued his company at $20 million for the purposes of his Shark Tank pitch, he walked away from the Snapchat deal an astonishing $54 million richer. These days, the app Garrett is most concerned with is Instagram, his personal account, where he posts plenty of pictures of the exotic locations he and his family visit as they travel around the world on a seemingly endless vacation. 23-year-old Derek Pack came up with the idea for his successful company CoatChex after a college professor asked him to come up with a list of 10 pet peeves. One of his biggest was not having anywhere to put his coat while out at the bar, and that got his wheels turning. He conceived of a mobile kiosk which could easily be then set up and broken down, plus a ticket-free system that allows patrons to claim their garments using a QR code. After a test run at 3 local nightclubs netted the business $50,000 in just a few months, Pack brought his idea into the Shark Tank. However, he wasn't satisfied with his loan offer from Mark Cuban for $200,000 in exchange for 33% of the company, a $600,000 valuation which Pack found to be much too low. He was of the opinion that the company could scale much more quickly than Cuban thought, and there turned out to be a far greater number of potential clients than just bars and nightclubs. In part due to the company's exposure on the show, CoatChex was able to secure deals to provide their service for Life in Color, an EDM event with 7,000 attendees, and 2013's New York Fashion Week, among others. Today, holding company Chexology has over 50 accounts with a wide array of clients, and their patented app is being used for more than just coats. Event organizers and businesses are using the platform for short-term rentals of everything from phone charging cases to headphones, and airlines like Delta and JetBlue have implemented the system to allow travelers to leave behind winter clothing on their way to warmer locales.
I'm in dead shock that I just turned down a deal from Mark Cuban.
Joel Clark's labor of love, Kodiak Cakes, was inspired by his mother, who in the 1980s would go door to door selling her whole grain pancake mix recipe. Clark and his brother John used the very same recipe when they started up their business in 1995, and for over a dozen years the siblings struggled to make their business sustainable. They even licensed the brand to an unspecified company for a short time when going got too rough, but none of their strategies for growing the company seemed to be paying off. This changed after the brothers' 2013 Shark Tank appearance, in which they asked for $500,000 in exchange for 10% of the company. Despite sales of $3.6 million that year, the Sharks passed on the opportunity.
Let's be realistic. This is a complete commodity.
Seeing the company's loan product as a commodity which would be easy to duplicate. But after their appearance on the show, the company's sales skyrocketed, allowing them to focus on introducing a wider range of products including muffin mixes and frozen waffles.
Our sales are really increasing.
In 2014, their sales doubled, and by 2018, they were reporting nearly $100 million in annual sales.
Good luck, guys.
Good luck.
Congratulations.
Good luck.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
I'm Brooks. I'm Taylor. And I'm Tanner.
Idaho native Brooks Dame started his business Proof Eyewear in his home in 2010 with the help of his brothers Tanner and Taylor. It began with a novel idea: sunglasses made from wood and other biodegradable materials, with their target market being surfers like themselves and other outdoor sports enthusiasts. A successful appearance at a trade show clued them into the fact that this focus was too narrow, and after landing over a dozen accounts ready to sell their shades to everyone from rappers to housewives, the brothers approached the Sharks to make a deal. Despite being well prepared, the brothers had their proposed offer of $150,000 for 10% of the company immediately shot down. They received a counteroffer valuing the company at a mere $500,000, and since they were on pace to reach that amount in sales that year alone, they decided to decline.
Guys, you let greed cloud your vision.
Enjoy the shades. Thank you.
It turned out to be the right decision. The week after the show, the company's website received over 1 million visitors, and today the brand is sold by over 120 stores and chains, grossing around $1.5 million per year in sales.
It's flashy. It's about staying true to who you are and doing a deal that makes sense.
James Martin is the founder of Copa Di Vino, a family winery with a unique twist. They market their product in a patented resealable plastic bottle perfect for on-the-go use. When Martin brought his product to the Sharks in 2011, they were all interested in taking a bite, but Martin's demeanor quickly turned them off. Kevin O'Leary, himself in the wine business, tried to convince Martin to separate the company into two, so that he could focus his investment on the patented container and not on the wine itself, but Martin wasn't having it. Sweating profusely under the hot lights, he batted down every offer and left the Sharks disappointed.
I understand business, I understand numbers, I've run the numbers.
But by the next year, Copa Di Vino had grown from $600,000 to a startling $5 million in annual sales, and the Sharks invited Martin back for one more round of negotiation. This time, Martin seemed interested only in the opportunity to say, "I told you so."
We missed out on a perfect opportunity last time.
Continually interrupting the high-dollar negotiations to take sips of his wine. Feeling disrespected and unimpressed, the Sharks bid the entrepreneur farewell, but Martin got the last laugh.
Cheers.
Cheers. Cheers.
As of 2016, his business was posting over $12 million in sales annually.
Cheers.
Ecuador native John Tavis came into the tank with a brand new way to distribute flowers. Having grown up on a farm, Tavis was well aware of the extremely convoluted supply chain that most floral products have to go through before finally making their way to the US, with price markups every step of the way. He thought there must be a better way, and founded the Bouqs Company in 2012, with the intent to cut out all of those middlemen and deliver a fresher product for less money. Even though his business was thriving, the Sharks thought that Tavis did a bad job with his presentation, in part because the numbers he was projecting for his company were seen as unrealistic. But after being rejected by every shark, the business did indeed continue to grow right in line with the numbers Tavis had foreseen, even doing $1 million on the Valentine's Day following his appearance. Mark Cuban has since said that it's the deal he most regrets not making. But Robert Herjavec did eventually buy into Bouqs. When the shark was about to get married, he was shocked at the price of flowers and gave Tavis a call to learn more about the flower business. Impressed with Tavis' knowledge and the company's growth since their appearance on the show, he got in on their current round of investments, a round which pumped another $24 million into the thriving company.
To the Bouqs Company, cheers!
In 2011, Sean Davis, aka Chef Big Shake, came into the Shark Tank with his special homemade shrimp burgers. He had created them for his family, and in particular his daughter, who had trouble eating meat. But they had been such a huge hit at family gatherings that Davis had begun selling them wholesale to local retailers. For every one that agreed to stock them, however, he received hundreds of rejections. And unfortunately for Davis, the Sharks weren't in a biting mood either. The Sharks couldn't deny the deliciousness of his product, but Davis was doing such small-time business that they were reluctant to invest. But Chef Big Shake became another beneficiary of the fabled Shark Tank effect. After his appearance on the show, his phone began ringing off the hook with new orders, and in just a year the business grew from annual sales of around $30,000 to an astonishing $5 million. Cuban, who told Davis he'd be a customer for life, also regrets missing out on Chef Big Shake, as does Damon John, who has remained in contact with Davis and gives him a call anytime he needs some tasty shrimp burgers for one of his parties.
Everything happens for a reason. This is not gonna stop.
Who's there?
It's Jamie.
Jamie Siminoff made his appearance in the Shark Tank in 2013 with an ingenious product, Ring, a doorbell system that allows you to see and talk to the person at your door with any smartphone. While he did receive an offer, it was one of Kevin O'Leary's classic oddly structured deals, a $700,000 loan with royalties in addition to a small stake. Finding the deal too restrictive, Siminoff passed and left the tank with no deal at all. But the young entrepreneur got the last laugh. His appearance on the show led to a boost in sales, just enough to keep him afloat, until November 2014, when he received an email from none other than Virgin billionaire Richard Branson. Branson was interested in gifting several of his friends with Siminoff's system, and less than a year later the billionaire was leading another round of investing which netted the upstart firm $28 million in funds. He may not have gotten a bite while in the Shark Tank, but Siminoff was lucky enough to close a deal with a shark of his own. And with Branson on board, the future looks bright for Ring.